What's up? I'm your host, Al Smith.
And I'm your co-host, Bria V. Smith.
And this is
the Thinknue podcast.
Welcome to the Thinknue podcast, the podcast about business and business strategies. On this episode number 3, we will be discussing how to create a plan.
Hi, Bria V. Smith here. I'm here. Don't worry, guys. I didn't leave you alone with this guy.
Oh, man.
I wouldn't do that to you unless it was an emergency.
Who starts off with, hi? Oh, man.
I'm just protecting the people.
This is section 3 of the How to Jumpstart Your Business to Success book, which is the book that myself as well as Bria V. Smith wrote.
Available on amzn.to.
Available on amzn.to. And that's for the hard copy, and it's available for download on PayHip. And the links to both of those are in the description below. So if you would, please support and follow along with us. If you don't want to support, then still you'll be able to get some of the information. But it would be good if you got the information and was following along with what we're providing. So without further ado, I want to get started. Hey, I hope everybody is having a good day or good night or good morning or whatever you're listening to it, man. I hope that everything is going all right in your life. And if it's not, if it's concerning business, hopefully that this will give you some insight, inspiration, and foresight into how you can really, start and grow your business. So without further ado, like I say, let's get started. How to create a plan. So it's a paragraph attached with this, and it reads as this. We have included in this chapter the outline for our simple business plan. This option cuts out some technical information. If you need or desire private funding, we recommend contacting us directly for assistance with the full business plan. And you can do that by contacting us at
podcasts at thinknue.com and put in the subject or put in the subject line.
Help!
You can put help in there, but just put in like full business plan so that I'll know that's what you're looking for. Or just contact us that way.
And you know what? Now let's make it a little bit more simpler too. You can contact us at info@thinknue if you want to do some type of like creative business thing. Stuffy.
Yeah, guys, if you don't know, if this is your first time ever tuning in, there are other episodes for you to get more familiar with us.
It's two other episodes.
Yeah. But we own a full service graphic design company, and we also do development. So those that are starting off in business that maybe need a little bit of help from some sound-minded people, we're here to help you. And so feel free to reach out to us for that type of thing. But
I wouldn't go as far as saying sound-minded, but I get you.
I mean, is your mind not sound? Something you need to tell us.
Sometimes it's not.
Tell us.
Sometimes it's not.
We can help you. This could be an intervention. You just say the word.
It is. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing the podcast. This is my venting place.
No one deserves that. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, back to creating a plan.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that we say do is describe your business. The next thing is the next question that we ask is, who is your target customer type? How will these customers find you? What will you sell, or what services will be offered? Who will buy or who needs your product or service? How will you market and advertise? List 3 companies or people that are your competitors. How do you plan to stand out from your competition? Will you be online based or have a physical location? What's the legal requirements for your business? Is it do you need a license for your city or your county? What about state requirements? Do you have insurance? Will your business need insurance? These are all of the things that we're going to discuss. And so we'll start off with describe your business. We talked about it in a previous episode, and describing your business in the beginning is important, because if you do decide that you want to have funding for your business, knowing exactly what you are, what you offer will be important to list out in your business plan. And so describing your business, that's one of the things that's like it's a must have or it's a must know. What about you, Bria?
What about me? I'm just kidding. So describing your business definitely is important. And I think that it's kind of a telltale sign that you're ready to write a plan if you can describe your business. Like, it's nothing worse than someone coming to us and like, oh, well, what they want creative services. Well, what is your business? And it's like all over the place, really no concise, like, okay, so what is it that you do? Mm-hmm. And, it's really a simple that they'll be selling, a certain product, but it's just all over the place to get to this one simplistic statement, mm-hmm. I sell XYZ. Mm-hmm. So if it's difficult for you to explain or describe what it is that you're doing, mm-hmm. that's a great sign that you probably want to go back and revisit the previous steps to this step, right? Mm-hmm. to going over researching and planning and all of that good stuff, because mm-hmm. obviously there's some type of disconnect somewhere if you can't describe your business and what it is that your offer will be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was a good answer. So the next question is, who is your target customer type? Bray, you want to start off with that?
Yeah, so knowing your target is so important. Oftentimes people, you say, well, who is your business for? Oh, it's for everybody. I want everybody, anybody. What? Well, you can't just market or target anybody. That's not a demographic. It's anybody, everybody. And one thing a lot of times is that we talked about in the previous episode is one of the biggest pain points for new business owners, small business owners is finance. Like, they don't have the money. Do you know how expensive it is to have to market to everybody, anybody? Mm. You will literally bankrupt your company before it even has a chance to grow with that type of thinking. Mm-hmm. So as hard as it may be to feel like you're excluding people, there really is power in niching and having a clear focus and direction of who you are marketing to, mm-hmm. who is your target, mm-hmm. where do these people hang out.
True.
That lets you know where to put advertisement, how to market, all of that good stuff.
True.
So
that's true. Yeah. One of the ways that you find out who you're targeting is by knowing what industry you're in and really simplifying what industry you're in. I'll give you a little story. When we first started out with Thinknue, we went through several different changes in our branding and as well as our messaging. Everything that we were doing, we went through several different changes. And I talked about it in the previous episode. I think it was episode 1, where I was saying about the confidence, understanding, and planning. Because I really didn't know the industry that I was in, I really wasn't really like fluent in that industry. Certain things happened, and so one of the things that did happen was not knowing the customer, like not knowing who it was. And so we started out as a video and development company, and so it was like whenever we would try to like find like the target customer, we really had a hard time trying to find it because it was video and development. And so when we tried to describe what it was that we did, it was always a disconnect because people know about video, but they didn't know about development. So as time went on, we came to the realization of saying just graphic design company, and we even say full service graphic design company because people know about that. But that helped us be able to describe who our customer type was by just switching those those titles out of who we are as a business. And so I think it's important. It's definitely important to know who your target customer type is. Like if you're selling baby clothing, then your customer type will probably be, parents and grandparents and, or fathers that will be looking for what you have to offer. And it wouldn't be like older people that are looking for suspenders and, depends and stuff like that. All right. So how will these customers find you? That's another question that is high on the list. How would these customers find you? Where would you like to start at?
Location. So I think making yourself easy to find kind of ties into what you just talked about with us, like, because we were calling ourselves a video and development company, it was hard for our graphic customers to find us, even though that really was the core of what we were doing for most of our clients. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things that less is more. Sometimes we're trying to be so different or so creative where it's like you really can miss your target. They can't find you. So think about, if you're going to be a brick and mortar, the location would matter. Mm-hmm. High traffic areas where your target would be. Mm-hmm. If it's an online e-commerce based business, utilizing words that would make it easier for your target to find you. And if they saw you on a Facebook ad or just, someone shared your Facebook page, mm-hmm. clearly from just looking at the first couple of things, they would understand what it is that you do, what you offer. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like the biggest thing, not making things too complex and being where your target is or where they can find you easily.
Mm-hmm. Another thing to really consider is the way that you'll be putting your business out there. So will you be using influencers, or will you be going through Google or some type of search engine to be found, or will you be standing outside with a sign, or will you be putting flyers and posters in locations? Like, how will your customers find you is something that you would really need to map out before you try to get started with doing any type of selling of anything. So that would be my take on it. What will you sell, or what services will be offered?
That's a really good one, because I think if we think about various different businesses, that's a lot of times something that should seem so simple, but a lot of times so hard. I think, again, going back to the finance situation, money sometimes makes us desperate when we're in business, and mm-hmm. being desperate makes you messy, and messy makes you all over the place. Yeah. So it's like one of those things where build out your list of what you want to offer. Sometimes there might only be two things that you might initially want to offer, just for an example. Then what are things that complement that service that you can offer, that you can, the key word is can offer, not that you want to, but can, meaning that if you offer these additional items, there's no lack in service, quality, any of that. Mm-hmm. Because if you, just for example, going back to using an example of baby clothes, mm-hmm. if baby clothes, you have quality vendors, you make the baby clothes, whatever it is, if that makes sense, and then you're like, you know what? Well, I also want to offer baby bottles because I saw them on, some site for 99 cents. Mm-hmm. Now you're taking your quality product and attempting to add something that's not quality. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a disconnect, and you can actually damage your brand by doing that, by adding a product that really does not fit mm-hmm. the quality and service. Because now I just happen to stop by here for my friend's baby, and I bought these cheap bottles that collapse or whatever, and now you're ruined, when if you would have just stuck to the initial product that you offered, which was good quality and of good service, you would have been fine. So I think that's, not to go on a tangent, mm-hmm. but I think it's important to keep in mind that whatever services or products you're going to offer, be intentional. Don't mm-hmm. be desperate. Mm-hmm. Don't be messy.
That's good. That's real good. You all right?
I do what I can.
You all right? Hey, you know what? I didn't ask you in this episode, how was your day?
I'm hungry. Someone should be taking me to lunch once we're done with that. Just want to put that out there in the atmosphere.
Don't bring a turkey leg to a vegan fest.
Really?
All right. I don't want to answer that. I think that it's good. I think that your answer was good. But I will say, don't bring a turkey leg to a vegan fest. I will say that. Yeah, I think that's good though.
Just make sure, guys, if you quote that, you don't say Bria V. Smith said it. Make sure you say,
oh yeah, it's
Al_Thinknue or Alfred_Thinknue. What is your Instagram handle?
I don't know. It's one of them.
Yeah, make sure you say he said it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't say that.
I said it. And I think all the vegans would stand up with me and applaud that. But anyway, yeah, let's go on. So, who would buy or needs your product or service? That's important. I just said it. Like, hey, you're selling turkey legs. Don't try to go to a vegan fest talking about you selling turkey legs. Like, make sure that the people that you're targeting, they need your service or they need your product. That's important. So, and it goes back to what will you sell or what services will be offered. Like Bria V was saying, like if you have, for instance, a turkey leg company, you're going to, like I said, a vegan fest, it's going to be a disconnect. And so just make sure that you know exactly what you're doing and don't try to introduce things just because it's a trending topic or, a trending industry at the time. I give you an example of the fidget spinner. Like when the fidget spinner first came out, even though it didn't really that trend or that fad really didn't last that long, it was an industry that kind of took off, and there was so many other little spinners that came after the fidget spinner, and so but they knew who would buy it just because of the fidget spinner and because of the impact that it made. So who would need or buy your product or service? Bria, did you have a take on that?
Nope. I think it kind of ties into what we've already talked about. It's just more of a detailed question there. Mm-hmm. It's its purpose. So yeah, nothing to add there.
How will you market and advertise? That's important.
Hugely important. And I think that question, just to clarify, means what channels you want to write down if you plan on doing online. Okay, online is kind of a vague statement. So you would need to say, okay, I plan on online advertising through Google, through Facebook ads, through Instagram. You want to be very detailed with how you plan to advertise. But you can't even really think about advertising if you have not been very clear with what is going to use your product or service. Mm-hmm. You can't overjump and say, oh yeah, I already know I'm going to use, Facebook, but are your potential clients on Facebook? Mm-hmm. So it's it all has to flow and it has to make sense in your planning for it to be successful.
Yeah, I think that's real. I think that's an honest answer. I would just say for the most part, when you're advertising, just make sure that you know what each platform provides and what each platform specializes in. Instagram is normally for pictures, and so it would be great to have beautiful pictures because that's what most people engage with versus trying to do some type of explainer picture, so just making sure that you know what you're doing and really have a clear reason of why you're doing it and why you're trying to go on each platform that you're going on to. Can you list 3 companies or people that are your competitors in your industry? If you are not the first one to break into this industry, can you list 3 people that are your competitors? That's important because it's something. And not just list the 3 people or 3 companies that are doing something, but listing ones that are doing something so great that they really are a competition. Like, I think any company, most times, any company can find 3 competitors that they know that they would be greater than, and list those as their competitors. But I would say find the top 3 in your industry that are considered your competitors. Have you listed those 3? And if you haven't, I would say do your homework.
Yeah, I agree. Do your homework. Yeah, I guess I don't really have anything to add there. Good job.
Yeah. And I let me just say something else too. Is the reason why you want to list the 3 companies and the 3 top companies is because, like I said in the last episode, you want to find out what their strength and what their weakness is, and then you just really want to see just like what they're doing right. What is it that they're offering that you didn't think about offering, and see if you can try to offer that, or see if you can try to do something that would be better than what they're doing. And so,
don't reinvent the wheel. Shine it.
How do you plan to stand out from your competition? That comes with the researching of your competitors. Like, you would never be able to understand what you could do if you haven't done any type of research to see where they're lacking at. So, right. You got anything to say?
No, I think that's basically sums it up. Best marketer wins.
Give credit where credit is due.
Meanly.
Okay. All right. Will you be online based or have a physical location? Man, this is so big. Like, if you are selling a product, having a physical location can damage you. Like, if you haven't noticed, like, all of these big retail companies that are going out of business, you got Toys R Us, you got Radio Shack, you have Circuit City that went out in, I think, 2008 or 7, maybe 9.
Rest in business, Circuit City.
Rest in business. You have all of these big chain stores that are going out of business. Now, I will say this, and I'll wait until Bria gives her answer. But I'm gonna give my theory on physical locations in a few minutes, and you can quote me as time goes on. But Bria, what's your answer
for physical locations?
Well, will your business be online or will you be in a physical location?
I think it depends. I think earlier when we were when we were talking about, or maybe that was a previous episode I'm thinking about, when we were talking about that your business, I was using that example of ice cream shop, right? Like, you don't need per se to have a brick and mortar if you can't afford the overhead. So I think a lot of times that's the biggest thing. How much cash flow do you have? Because if your business does not necessarily have to be an open location, like a brick and mortar, you probably would be okay if it's online and then grow and scale to having an actual, brick and mortar location. But sometimes people think they want the look of success, right? Because it looks really good when you can arrive to a location. But like that costs, and it's unnecessarily cost if you're really not in a position to be able to advertise. True. And monetize.
That's true. The theory that I have about physical locations is this. The big box, a lot of the big box chains are going to go out of business, and the ones that are going to start arising is going to be businesses that specialize in a certain thing. So businesses that are carrying products that are coming from people that people know, like, it's coming from people that are basically like prospering in the online world. I think those would be the businesses that come along and really start to prosper, businesses that like specialize in carrying things that are not of the norm. So these products won't be in stores. These will be like I say, in these smaller, retail stores or whatever. That's my theory, and I think that even retail stores or retailers, businesses won't be as we know it now. So like contracts won't be the same. The way that it's structured won't be the same. I think that it'll be easier for a person to just do like almost like a Airbnb. So it'll be like the business Airbnb, where it's like you can get it for a certain amount of time and then you can let it go.
Wow, are you like predicting the future here?
I think that's where it's going to.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
On the Thinknue podcast.
That's right. You I think that's where it's going to. And so that's just my theory, but I mean I'm open to being wrong.
Said nobody ever.
Nah, I'm saying it. Like
I'm just kidding.
I'm open to being wrong. I'm never wrong, but I'm open to being wrong. What is the legal requirement for your business? City council requirements, state requirements, or and as well as the insurance. So, I would say for any business that you're trying to launch, like you're gonna need at least to meet the state requirements, which is registering your business name. Bria, did you have anything?
No, this is a part of like again kind of researching. So if you've done your research, this is kind of like an easy answer, depending on your area. I know for Florida, the requirements, because we're a Florida-based business. I'm fairly familiar, like Georgia, because we owned a business in Georgia. But every area is a little bit different. But most places, most cities, they want. I hate to say it's a part of like the money grab, but that literally, you're helping your community when you're paying your local business taxes. You're helping your state.
So they say.
Well, you're hoping that's what you're doing. So yeah, if you can, to be legal. Be legit so that you don't have to quit.
Bars. Bars. So let's go down to the next section, and it reads, is this: what will I need to get started and launch my business? Will I need a graphic designer? Will I need a logo designer, a web designer, a photographer? Will I need models, bookkeeping, software, a CPA, virtual assistant? What timelines and goals can you create to build your business above? How often do you review your plans, sales goals, and make efforts? Our suggestion would be bi-weekly and monthly when you're first starting out. So let's go to graphic designers, because that's the first thing that's on the list. And I will speak first because I am a creative director. And so the graphic designer portion of your business is important, and I'll tell you why. They will be able to see, a graphic design business, us, Thinknue, and you can search us at Thinknue.com. It's THINKNUE.com.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But most professional graphic designers will be able to tell you how to go about, or they should be able to direct you in a way that can help your business and not harm your business. And so just knowing, professional graphic designers should know certain things, whether it be trends, whether it be the solid foundation of what your business will need. Like professional graphic designers would know these types of things. And so having a graphic designer on your team, that is important. But if you don't, and you need to do it yourself, we'll give you some answers of how you can do it yourself in a later episode. The next episode. Next episode. Bria, so did you have anything that you want to say?
And I know we're saying you're a professional graphic designer, but I think that's unfortunately, it's becoming a very saturated industry with technology. And I would say this: the foundations and fundamentals of most things don't change. The way you paint a car, I don't care, how old the car is. There is something that's just the fundamentals of how you prime and apply. And it's the same thing with design. So though there are tons of applications that you could use to create graphics, those are great. But if you don't understand the fundamentals, it doesn't matter whether you pay somebody and they don't understand the fundamentals, or you do it yourself and you don't understand. The consumer is going to be able to see something is off. Even if they don't verbalize it, they're going to be able to tell. I mean, you can just think about it from yourself being a consumer. How many times have you seen something and you don't know, maybe you can't tell me exactly what was wrong, but it was just like, something's off. Like, something about it you didn't like, or just something seemed wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's because someone did something that doesn't make visual sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I think that's the same thing with the graphic. I mean, not the graphic, but the logo designer and the web designer as well. Like, the fundamentals should be prevalent in the presentation that your logo designer or your web designer gives you. So I want to go down. I'll skip those and I'll go down to the photographer. And photography is something that we don't offer. It's a fundamental for photography as well. And so with a photographer, when you pick your photographer, you should pick one that is diverse in the industry or diverse in the needs that you have. And so what I mean by that is, if you are selling a product, it would be best if you go to or find a photographer that does product photography, because they'll be able to better help you in the need that you have. Like, it would defeat the purpose of needing someone to do product photography if you're going to a wedding photographer. Like, 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't be able to capture the same thing that someone that specializes in product photography would be able to capture. And so when you're looking for a photographer, don't just look for, things that are pretty. Look for things that make sense for your business.
Or the cheapest, because you get what you pay for.
True. So yeah, don't look for the things that are just pretty and cheap. Look for things that really make sense for what you have and what your needs are in your business. Britta, do you have anything?
Nope. Good job.
I know. I want to go down to the models. It's the same thing with photographers. Like, you want to make sure that the models that you're choosing, they are aligning with what your potential brand is and what it's gonna be, or what you project it to be, as far as models. So, do you have anything?
Yeah, I know a situation where like a boutique enlisted, quote unquote influencer or model, and then this person was doing things that did not align with the vision and values of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's one of those things that when you're picking people, you might want to pick more than a cute face.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're, known for saying just tons of inappropriate, offensive things, now your brand marries into this person's, foolishness, basically. Like, think about how many times there's someone that's done something. I think we were just watching something and they mentioned Subway. Mm-hmm. Well, when I think about controversy, I think about Jared. Even though Jared no longer is technically associated with Subway, who can forget him? And so if you think about that when you're picking models or spokespeople for your business, anything that they could possibly do that would be in a negative nature, mm-hmm. it can hurt you. Also, anything they do in a positive nature can help you, but you just have to kind of be mindful to pick people that really just naturally stand for the same values and morals that you do, mm-hmm. as a person as well as in business.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Bookkeeping. I'll let you go on that since you are the business consultant.
So bookkeeping is just something of keeping records. There's tons of apps. I love Wave app, even though they were just recently purchased. I believe H&R Block. That was hurtful, but I'm optimistic.
Still hopeful.
Yeah, hopeful. So yeah, if not, there's of course the industry giant and standard of QuickBooks, mm-hmm. which they have a small business version of that application that you can use on your phone or computer. So I mean, there are things out there that help you keep good records is basically what bookkeeping is. Keeping good records that you can look on at the end of the year when it's time for tax purposes, as well as just quarterly. If you're trying to see like how are we growing, what are our numbers, because your records help you with projections. So if you haven't kept good records from start to finish, it's going to be very hard to give financial projections, as well as us knowing being, full-time business owners, when it comes down to certain traditional loans, they want to know the trends of your business. And if you haven't kept good records, you won't be able to provide that information.
Software. I'll let you start off with that as well.
Software. So just depending on your industry, there are tons of different softwares. We have like for graphic design, if you needed to create, social media stuff, you have with your Canvas. We are like Adobe people over here because Adobe provides us with a lot of the software. So there's such a thing called Adobe Spark that I'm a huge fan of. And I mean, there's tons of lists others that you could use for certain graphic design services and things that you could use just for like your social media, not necessarily for like big stuff. I mean, pretty much anything that you might need if you research, there's an app for that.
Yeah. Definitely making sure that your software game is up to par. That is important. What about CPAs?
Certified public accountants. So, just depending on the size and your financial budget, I mean, I get it. CPAs sometimes are super expensive, and they have every reason to be. A good certified public accountant is really an asset. Because they're going to know things for the years and education that they have that you don't. So if you can afford to research in your area to see how much, one will cost, most small business owners, even we don't have one on retainer, but normally at the end of the year, a lot of them will work out a set price to take your good bookkeeping records and use that to help you with your taxes and, year-end reports. And that's something that you're doing in your business structure.
Yeah, I think you answered that good. What about virtual assistants?
So virtual assistants are something that I think is important. We've had them in various different capacities, whether it was like working with our sales team, helping us with like certain client projects. Delegating when you're scaling is like, oh man, it's hard for me anyway, but it can be hard, but it really helps. I can think about numerous times where we pretty much were kind of spread thin on projects, and I had to have our virtual assistant, maybe do something that I'm normally used to doing as far as typing up something or pulling a report or researching. And I mean, if she wasn't in place, the stress level as well as the turnaround time just would have not been efficient. So I think that depending on your industry and business, a virtual assistant can be very important. A lot of times they're a lot less expensive than having someone like full time, like an employee. So I think it's just kind of like you have to compare and contrast what your business needs, what you can afford, and make the judgment call from there.
That's good. That's real good. I personally don't need a virtual assistant just because of I'm just managing like the projects at this point. But for our team, for our graphic design team, which we have one full-time employee and we have a part-time employee, a graphic designer. I understand how important that is, and so I think having a virtual assistant once you do need it, I think that you should get it, just because like they can really take off some of the stress that you may have trying to run your business. So I think that was a great answer.
And a lot of times they're flexible, just to say that too. So that's the biggest difference, where most virtual assistants, if they're doing it full time, they're selling you blocks of time. So you don't necessarily have to have a virtual assistant for every day of the week. They might say in a month, here's 10 hours for X price. You tell them what you need done in that 10 hours. So it's really helpful in that way as well.
No, that's good. So the next section in section 3 is establish an operations plan. So what are your daily functions? When do you handle emails, calls, website updates, etc.? The next one is customer service. The standards of service your customers should receive. What is your emergency plan in the event that you are sick and not able to fulfill your business obligations? So we'll start off with the first one, which is your daily functions. So when do you check your emails and when do you return the phone calls, and how often will you be updating your website, if at all? Like, these are things that in the beginning, before you even start your business, you should consider. You should really think about, because I tell you from experience, once you get up and going, these things they can be super taxing to the time that you're spending on, really trying to manage those, for lack of better words.
So I think for most people, it's just depending on the amount of time that you have. I think we talked about in episode 1 that people are saying, oh, I don't have enough time because I work a 9 to 5 or I'm doing X, Y, Z. And so again, it goes to what I said then, is prioritizing. So it's like you put in priority what needs to be done first. So if the main source of communication for your small business or your venture is email, you need to check your email. You can't ignore that because you quote unquote don't have time. So if that means that, you set up twice a day to check your email, and then you check your email, and then you tell people there's a 24 to 72 hour turnaround time for a response. Because some things, you can get an email and you can respond back to it right away. Sometimes you need to research or pull information. I've had situations where mentally, I need to wait to respond because I want to make sure that I'm responding back to that email kind, respectful, professional. So, there's many different reasons when it comes to email why you might want to wait and have the time frame, but it needs to be communicated to your client hey, someone will get back to you within said time frame.
That's good. Customer service, the standard of service your customers should receive. I'll let you start off with that.
So one thing here at Thinknue, as far as a company and an organization that we've prided ourselves on, and I feel like it's one of the recipes for success, is big communication. We are super big on communicating with our clients, and we are, I should say, willing to communicate in some unconventional ways. There are clients that literally text us. Some companies might frown upon that. Now, certain things, even if it's done by text, I'll let them know, hey, I'm going to send you a follow-up email just confirming that, and that's just for legal reasons, where there's certain things that you want to have in writing that it's agreed upon. Text messages also have legal holding, but if you can get something that's big also in writing, I definitely suggest having it in writing. But it's just one of those things.
No, I think that's good. I was actually gonna touch bases on our big communication as well, so it's not even a need for me to even answer it as well. So what is your emergency plan in the event that you're sick and not able to fulfill your business obligations? What do you say about that?
So I think that, the important part of mentioning that is because we had that happen, right? Numerous times in, almost 4 or 5 year journey, where it's one of those things where, man, I wish I would have thought about that ahead of time, with things just unexpectedly happening. And so again, it goes back down to communication. Do you have something that you would send to your clients making them aware, assist them. So like for me, at that time when an emergency happened, I emailed all of our like retainer type clients that we were regularly doing things for, to let them know that we haven't forgotten you. There may be a slight delay, and this is why. In a very general standpoint, there's a family emergency, and so where I normally may have responded in 24 hours, please allow additional time. Mm-hmm. And can I tell you that people would respond back and say, take as much time as you need. You know, you have provided me good customer service. You guys are big on communication. So I'm willing to wait and not complain, because you have set kind of like the standard for what to expect. But can you imagine if we always were like not responding to emails, we didn't have, good customer service and lack of communication, people are not going to be willing to like be understanding. So I think having an emergency plan of how you're going to contact your clients, what you're going to say to them. If you're a brick and mortar and a business that requires a body, is there a replacement person that could fill in for you? Even if it's just maybe you don't close completely, but you have restricted hours during that emergency where someone can go in. Is there like a manual or a place online or in your store where I could go to say, okay, I'm here, what do I do? Is there something I can follow? Even if it's kind of loosely and they have to wing it, right? But is it, okay, I open the register and I enter X, Y, and Z to do it? Like having those types of things in place will save you time, money, and reputation. Because if you just fall off the face of the earth and you don't tell people why, bad news travels fast. So it takes literally like 12 hours and someone's like, they don't stole my money and they're a horrible company, not realizing, oh man, you had a family emergency and it's not that you were attempting to steal their money. You just had to address that because that was important. So,
and I'll go on to say the event, the most recent emergency that we had is it comes from last year. My mom, she had cancer, and she passed away from it. But it was one of those times where it was like, man, for 5-6 months straight, we had to go without really being so hands on, and so just having our employees in place, our virtual assistant in place, as well as our graphic designer in place. That really, it made a big difference. And then just following the outline that we have in the book of creating the emergency plan, I think that really saved us a lot because of just the things that we had to go through within that situation. So it's really important for you to create an emergency plan in the case of something like your parent getting sick or your child getting sick or even you getting sick. And so I think to do that would be good, and to have that in place in the beginning, or to even consider that in the beginning, should be something that would be on your mind. It should be on your mind, because you don't want that bad rap on your business name, because like Bria V said, like, it only takes 12 hours. Like, sometimes it can be less than that. In 24 hours, man, you can be your name can be dragged through the mud so bad that you might consider closing down your door,
or having to change your name. Like, you don't want to go viral for that reason.
Yeah. Before we go on, and that was the last tip for you to consider in this episode, but it was a few years ago. It was a company that was very big. I mean, very big in the city of Jacksonville, Florida, where we are. That they had to close their doors because of the reputation that they had built, and some people came out against them, and they went to the news and they got sued, and they ultimately had to close their doors because of the reputation. But what happened was, the person, their partner died. You remember that?
Oh yeah. Their
partner died, and so it wasn't that they were trying to. I don't think that it was because they were trying to like necessarily steal anybody's money. It was just the partner who they had been in business with
for years.
They died, and so that hurt their business, and they ultimately closed their doors, and I think they started working And I know that had to be a hard thing, but if they would have had an emergency plan in place, they wouldn't have had to have gone through maybe what they went through. So I think that's the most important thing in these here tips is, and for this section, is like create an emergency plan. We do this thing where we answer questions from people, and if you have a question, you can email us at podcast@thinknue.com. That's ThinkNue.com. And just send your question.
Or they can text you.
Or you can text me at 904-516-0151. Text me a question, and if I can, I answer it and even try to feature it on the show. And who knows, maybe even, do a podcast around the question that you ask if we feel like it's necessary. But the question is, and it came from an anonymous, they wanted to stay anonymous, and it is, I'm looking to start my business, but don't have any money. Any suggestions? So, Bria, I'll let you start off.
Excuses. So we talked about this in episode 1 when we were talking about like the great myths of business, starting a business. And that's one I think will probably never go out of style. We always feel the lack of is a reason not to. Mm-hmm. And so tons of suggestions. I mean, you have to be resourceful when you lack money. So that's how some of the greatest inventions were created, right? There was no money, and so you had to be innovative. Mm-hmm. So you definitely can. And I challenge you to do it and be super, super successful and come back and tell us like how great you're doing.
Oh, okay. So let me help somebody out because she was very broad in her answer. So let me give you some suggestions as the question asked. One of the ways maybe not crowdfunding. What is the thing that?
So like collective economics?
Yeah. Like, so group economics or collective economics. Another way could be subcontracting. So basically, you find the clients or you find the customer, and then someone else does the job. Another way could be finding an investor, a private investor or something like that. Another way can be, going with a family or friend and partnering up with them. Like it's those could be some ways that you could potentially start your business, even though you don't have the capital to do so. And what you could do is you could save, or you could wait and to start your business.
Wait.
You could wait to start your business, and the thing that we run into a lot of times with clients is that they feel like they have to do it right then and there. Like they a lot of well, not a lot, but we've run into like clients that we're consulting, and they feel like it's this urgent need to do it right now because like something is going to happen, and then they start the business and then they close the doors soon after. So you just take your time. Maybe it's not the right time for you to start your business. And with everything, with every season, the bad season passes and a greater season comes.
So I like that. That's really good.
Yeah, it's almost like don't take a turkey to a vegan fest.
Yeah, I don't like that one. Yeah, but I definitely agree. And so, yeah. That was really good. That's really good.
All right, so this has been another episode number 3 of the Thinknue podcast, and we're going off the series of how to jumpstart your business to success,
which is available on Amazon.
The book is not the podcast. The book is available on YouTube and YouTube only right now. All right.
The book is available on YouTube. The podcast.
The podcast. I just said the podcast.
The podcast is available on YouTube. But the book is available on Amazon. And there's also going to be a link to the download if you want the digital format because it's a little bit cheaper. And we're always trying to make things affordable for you and people that you love that want to jump out into the sea of entrepreneurship and small business.
Swish, 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 swish. On the next episode number 4, we're going to be going into section 4, and I believe that'll be the last episode of the series of how to jumpstart your business to success. And in that section, we're going to be talking about how to execute. So until the next time, I hope that you guys have had a great time. I hope that we provided some type of insight, some type of valuable information for you to follow. And man, we'll see you next time.
And who are you?
I'm Al Smith, creative director of Thinknue.
And this is Bria V. Smith, business development consultant with Thinknue.
I think you be hanging the last part of your name. You be hanging that H. It sounds like an F. Smith. Not Smith. Hey man, until the next time, I bid you adieu.
Really?
We're out.
We're out.